first topic. It's not really a question, it's a topic. What was Trump trying to accomplish yesterday with the Powell leak or official White House statement, whatever you want to say? Is Trump following the old Turkish playbook? And now the reason that we wrote that, replacing Jay Powell and lowering rates by decree, is because that's kind of like that's kind of what happened in Turkey a few years back when they replaced the central bankers and they lowered rates by decree. It didn't necessarily work, but that was kind of that was essentially we've seen it happen elsewhere in the world. Let's put it that way. What do you think was going on yesterday, and what were we witnessing?
Yeah, so I mean, I know what was going on yesterday. So here in the if you spend any time in the media and strategery parlors of the world, whether it's in Chicago or Washington, D.C., or the most esteemed media manipulation parlors on earth are here in New York City, there is an item that it gets discussed on a routine basis. It's basically a standard, like, you know how in football there's like a sweep or there's a wedge or there's a Hail Mary. Like, there's certain plays that are standards. You sort of more about not so much about what is the play, but when do you use the play. Well, what we witnessed yesterday in the common parlance of the global media world is called a trial balloon. And what you witnessed yesterday was the floating of a so-called trial balloon, where they sat around in the room and they said, I wonder what the market would think if Trump tried to fire Powell. And they're like, well, there's only one way to find out, ladies and gentlemen. I say we float ourselves a trial balloon and kind of see what happens. See if the dogs come out in the yard. Maybe they won't even notice. And so I believe what you witnessed yesterday is because, remember, so why do you float the trial balloon? You float the trial balloon because you delusionally believe that lower rates are in some way going to be better for the economy at a time when you're already applying all this inflationary pressure. And I don't know that there's any economist or non-economist in the world who's ever thought that the best thing you can do when you're raising the cost of everything and when inflation is reaccelerating is to lower the cost of money in order to get inflation under control. I don't know that theory has ever actually been successful. And so when the trial balloon forget firing Powell is a metaphor for lowering rates. Right? It's not Powell, no Powell. It's I want lower rates, and this person's not giving me lower rates. I'm going to put someone in here who wants lower rates. And so you watch the trial balloon float. You watch the market pop the balloon and spit in everybody's face, and then you watch them put the balloon back in the garage. And I believe that's what happened yesterday.
I like the trial balloon term, but you know what's weird to me, and Tony, I don't know if you think the same thing. If you really want lower rates, which I believe Trump does want lower rates. The easiest way to lower rates, the simplest way to lower rates is to just say you have a single point of failure with respect to inflation, which is tariffs, right? That is everybody's on the same page there. Tariffs are creating this inflationary pressure. Even Jay Powell says it. You want to lower rates? You want bonds to go up 3 points tomorrow? Just drop the tariff stuff or minimize the tariff exposure, and rates will crash. I don't understand. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So that is the simplest thing to do. You walk away as a hero.
They want their cake and they would like to eat it. I know, but I believe that there's a preference for both cake and eating it.
Well, you walk away as a hero if you just drop the whole tariff crap or most of it, and you save face by getting rates lower. Everybody in this country would appreciate lower rates and less inflation, and they don't give a rat's ass about the tariff because we pay for them anyway as consumers. All right, let's move on to the next question. I don't want to run out of time.
All right. The one issue is you're using logic. You're using logic, and that's an issue. So think about it.
That is a lot. That is an issue, using logic. Okay.
That's a flaw for your behavior.
Bonetta talked about this morning. Bonetta talked about this morning, and it's been top of the financial news all week. The House has been under pressure this week to pass crypto legislation, loosening crypto regulations. They got stymied because there was a few Republican House members that said no. Trump put a lot of pressure on them. I think they're going to get it done. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the legislation necessarily. But according to Bloomberg yesterday, the Trump meme coin is set to be unlocked today. It adds $100 million to his net worth, $900 million of total value. How dangerous a message does this send, and why is nobody raising a conflict issue?
I mean, at this point, crypto to me is akin to, Dutch tulip mania, where you've arbitrarily identified a valueless concept as a sort of a digital code, basically a digital code word or a digital code number as a so-called token, and decided to assign economic or currency value to it. And the only thing underlying its value is the very fact that everybody agrees to pay for it. A house has value outside of its financial value insofar as you can live in it. Or, I won't list all the other things that have value. But again, a car you can drive, food you can eat, blah, blah, blah. This is a stock represents the underlying or future cash flow of the discounted cash flow of the enterprise value of a company, the payment flow of a bond. This is tulip mania. And it is tulip mania, worse than tulip mania. The president of the United States is a tulip farmer. And so you have a regulatory environment that is entirely in favor of the most liberal crypto regulations available. And you have a president enriching himself doing it. I actually think long-term is probably bad for crypto. I think that crypto probably has some utility using the blockchain and coding and transactions and cross-currency and title clearing and all a lot of the legal functions associated with assets and asset transfers, I think can be expedited using the technology that underlies crypto. And so allowing crypto to become very tulip-like, I think sets it up for a huge loss of money and loss of wealth in the future at some future point in time, which I actually think could be very destructive to the underlying value that's available.
Sure. I'd like to talk on this before you, because and I agree with you, Dylan. You have come out and said that you don't like that you do like politicians trading. Let them do whatever they want to do. 100%, blah, blah, blah. But I know you're going to hate this idea about Trump, and I don't like it either, as in the same camp as Ratigan. Point I'm trying to make is, how could you be so for politicians who are on committees trading stocks that are affected by their committee's decision ahead of time when you cannot like
I'll answer
Trump
that.
coin? Because it seems like it's a disconnect.
I'll answer it. No, I'll answer it. If a politician created their own company,
doesn't matter. It's just semantics.
No, it's not. This is a meme coin. This is not what Dylan just said was accurate with the technology, whether it's blockchain technology, and
this is not going to hurt Bitcoin or anything else like that.
I
disagree with Dylan on that.
Not going to hurt anything except the people that end up buying it. This is a
but trade as your own will. This is
a meme coin. This has no
Beanie Babies. This is stupid.
This is Beanie Babies.
This is stupid. I agree with you.
So what I'm opposed to is a politician creating their own Beanie Baby and pushing it out there. That's not a politician trading. That's not trading.
That's somebody who's going to give a multi-gazillion dollar bill pass so that this company is going to benefit from it and investing in it 2 or 3 weeks before they come out with this. You're just blinded here by
this is passing your own legislation so that you
same stuff, semantics.
Not even close. I'm sorry. This is a true conflict. It's almost
disagree.
In my eyes, it's almost criminal.
I feel like I have not wavered from my stance, but I feel like you pick and choose.
No, you're crazy. Well, go ahead, Dylan. You can.
And I'm going to go with the man in the nice shirt.
Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate that.
Which is not you, Tom.
Okay, good. Let's go to the next slide, because this is another fun one, which I like.
All right.
Is JPMorgan too big to fail? They had earnings yesterday. The stock was like unchanged, I think, or down a little bit. I'm not 100% sure.
Up 240 today, but yes, you are correct.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Lower.
JPMorgan is now worth more than all of its 3 largest competitors combined. So it's bigger than its 3 largest competitors combined. It's
bigger than U.S. Steel.
It's almost $1 trillion company. Dylan, does $1 trillion financial institution as a $1 trillion bank, is that cause for concern? It's not a technology play, clearly.
I mean, only for the. I mean, so I have an issue with the way this question was presented because it's not. Is JPMorgan too big to fail was codified as an institutional structure of the American economy in 2009. We have had too big to fail institutions by law for however many years it's been since 2009, 16 years. And so it's not a question of is JPMorgan too big to fail. JPMorgan is too big to fail. Its much smaller competitors are also too big to fail. It's a matter of fact. I believe that the U.S. government in 2009, as a resolution to the financial crisis, made a decision to absorb all of the risk in the too big to fail of financial institutions into the U.S. currency. And basically, it's the way I would describe it is, I give Tom a loan, Tom doesn't pay his bills, so now Dylan has a default, and Dylan's bank is in trouble. So now I bought insurance on my bank from Tony. So now I pass my default on to Tony. Tony passes a default onto the taxpayer. Nobody can pay. That's too big to fail. And the way that we resolved it was mathematically. I mean, this was a decision made by Paulson and Rahm Emanuel and all the gentlemen in the room there in 2009 was give me all of the empty holes, all the whether it's the unpaid mortgage loans up to the unpaid credit default swaps to AIG and everything in between. And we'll suck it all up into the U.S. dollar, and we'll hide it there because the U.S. dollar is a reserve currency, and so there's nothing. It'll just live there invisibly forever. And then in the process, we will legally certify with Dodd-Frank a piece of legislation that says that there are systematically significant financial institutions, which is a legal characterization. Furthermore, we'll recertify the investment banks, the broker-dealers, as bank holding companies, such that they have direct legal access to the Fed lending window, lest there ever be an issue like this. Because one of the issues in 2009 was they couldn't go that night and pull money to Goldman and Morgan Stanley because they weren't bank holding companies, and so they didn't have the legal standing to hit the window, which is one of the first pieces of legislative changes that was made in 2009 to bail everybody out. But hitting the window is just another way of accessing the U.S. dollar. So a long-winded way, and sorry for the minor history lesson on the financial crisis, but JPMorgan is too big to fail. Too big to fail is an institutional fact of the United States. That fact is worn across the currency of the United States. It benefits the executives and employees and shareholders of the banks, and it hurts the holders of the U.S. dollar, who have been defended up until Donald Trump from the collapse of the dollar by virtue of the reserve status and the relative weakness of the other economies, specifically Europe and Japan. So it is too big to fail. What are we even talking about? Come on.
I'm gonna almost disagree.
It's the law of the land, sir.
Go ahead.
I mean, since you jogged my memory when you said, look at history, look at the E.F. Hutton. I mean, if there is something like ethically wrong, I mean, E.F. Hutton, I think Merrill Lynch was the only company that was bigger and in the space than E.F. Hutton back in the 80s.
I don't remember which one was which, but there's a lot of financial firms that went out of business. Yeah,
no, agree. But it was one of the biggest players. If it wasn't the biggest player,
Merrill Lynch basically went out of business in 2008.
Yes. So yeah, you can. I'm going to disagree here, Dylan. They're not too big to fail.
I'm gonna agree with Tony and disagree with you as well, Dylan, in the sense that I think it's a little dangerous. And I don't know what you do about it, but I think that, if depending on how JPMorgan wants to spend its wealth, because a lot of it is, a very high share price, blah, 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 whatever. But depending on how they want to share their wealth or spend their wealth, it could have pretty significant implications for the financial service business and or for the consumer. Because it is one of the things that's always made the banking system in this country so relatively.
So you're saying it is too big to fail, but you're agreeing with me. It's too big to fail.
Different reasons. I'm saying right now it seems like it's too big to fail, and that scares me.
Right, but I'm saying everything's been too big to fail for 16 years. Are you just catching on? Where you been?
Well,
Right, they're just bigger than they used to be.
This is how it is. Yeah, I mean, I guess my question: you're saying you think something's changed?
yeah, a lot has changed.
Do you think they're too bigger to fail?
Yeah, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. What's
Meaning you think
changed
they're
is
even bigger?
what's changed is in 2008, 2009, they were the company was worth less than $100 billion.
Yeah, but the market was less.
No,
Everything
no, I
was
understand
less.
that. What I'm saying is,
They're not too big to fail, and they'll be absorbed by somebody else or protected by somebody else, but they can
hold
go
on,
out of
hold on.
business.
Stop. What I'm saying is,
Listen,
if you go back a decade or a decade and a half, there was very little that separated JPMorgan from other banks. Very little. And so the diversification inside of our banking system in this country is one of the things that's always protected the consumer. There's not enough money, in all the insurance programs to cover, to protect consumers. The consumer's always been protected by the diversification of the banking system in this country. Period. That's it. We've had between savings and loans,
Which ended in 2009.
between commercial banks and everything else. Yes. And since 2009, what you've seen happen is that there's a certain portion of the banking system that's never been able to recover. And then there's another portion on the commercial side that has exploded, and JPMorgan has just completely dominated relative to everything else. So now,
Which, by the way, is how every other country in the world functions, with a few giant banks.
which is not necessarily a good thing, because if you look everywhere else in the world, you don't have the same kind of economic growth and opportunity that you have in the U.S. And one of the reasons we've had that is because you have banks that are willing to do certain things that are more aggressive, certain things that they'll take different consideration. When you have one place to essentially go to, you just don't have enough choices, and it's not a great situation for the consumer.
I totally agree.
Okay. Yeah,
but I believe the United States has become more like Italy or Japan. These countries that have they have Unicredit and Intesa. That's it. There's two places, or there's Sumitomo Bank and whatever the other one. There's two banks everywhere, and that's it. And I think that's a bad thing, because I think it reduces risk taking and it reduces creativity.
Okay, that's exactly my point. I agree with that. And so I'm not sure. I think we might all be actually on the same page.
I think so.
On this one, but okay,
we're allowed.
I thought there was a little difference, but no, it's really
We're trying to find a gap between us. I mean,
He's trying to separate us, Dylan. He doesn't like me playing with you.
He's
in your sandbox.
I don't like everybody playing very nice.
Jealous.
Yeah, no, not jealous, but I don't like everybody playing nice. I like it when there's
first we wear colorful shirts and leave you out, and next we agree on the liabilities of JPMorgan. Although, aren't you impressed with Jamie? Even if you don't like Jamie Dimon, you have to respect him as one of the most impressive executives in the history of Wall Street.
I think Jamie Dimon would be way more interesting to me if he never talked. If he just
like Heidi Klum. Heidi Klum, I was really impressed with until she spoke.
He's like Heidi Klum to me too. If he just shuts up, I'm fine.
Might be really intelligent, might be everything he needs to be. I just didn't have to hear it.
He just drives me crazy when he starts talking.
Yep.
I mean,
then I lose.
He's probably 10.
Every time I hear him talk, I just want to say, "Oh my God, I got to get my money out of there." And every time other than that, I'm impressed. But when he talks, it drives me out of my mind.
All these guys. He's probably 10 or 12 years older than me. I met him for the first time when he was in his late 30s. I was probably 25 or something. And he was a junior, but not junior. He was Sandy Weil's lieutenant at Smith Barney.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I became, I wouldn't say friends with him, but friendly with him over the years. And watched him get fired and thrown out and sent to the backwater that is Chicago. And then,
well, I think you're
gonna let that go. You're gonna let me get away with that. Was a
no.
Anyway, I didn't get a rise out of you for that.
I think he raised his kids here. His kids went to school in Chicago.
I think so.
Yeah. What was it, Bank One or something? And then he comes back as the conquering hero, picks up JPMorgan. Anyway, it's mythological. It's mythological.
Yeah, I mean, they all his kids went to school here. They're all whatever local Everybody knows everybody.
Gave his wife a third of his money while he's like, listen, we're never, whether we get divorced or not here, just take a piece. Good luck to you. The sort of
lucky thing,
mid-marriage.
Lucky thing you didn't follow that model.
Well, Dylan, I have only 3 words left.
I didn't.
What? I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Like I said.
I have only 3 words left to say to you, Dylan. You are out.
Yeah.
Subscribe right here. And if you want to meet me and the team in person at our next live event, hit the link at the top of the description.